No, thank you again, Vanessa, for having me on and being able to do the talk. So yeah, I mean, today I will be talking about obviously the dangers of social media, and in this presentation, it not only obviously impacts autistic people, but it does impact a range of neurotypical people as well that might be in danger of the same sort of things that happen online. So, dangers of social media. So, just a little bit about myself as well. So, I've got autism, OCD, ADHD, and epilepsy. Big list. The doctor seems to love me and just gives me conditions all the time. I work full time in IT, which I'm also doing the IT support now at school, which I'm absolutely loving. I think the environment is definitely for me. Because again, that sort of environment, I'm interested in the educational side, but I'm also doing what I love as well, which is the IT. I'm ambassador for the National Autistic Society, and something I've also got to add into this as well is just last week I was made an autism expert panelist member for the Dimensions charity as well. So it's another company that I'll be working with to raise the awareness and the understanding of autism, and planning on working on some big projects with them, introducing more things like Autism Hour and speaking to shops and retailers about how they can make the space a bit more autistic friendly for people when obviously the pandemic is over and everyone is returning to the shops. I'm also an actor. Been on Holby City and Doctors, and done adverts for Ford and Santander. Most of the characters I play have been autistic characters, autistic people, and I think it's really important because obviously when we see things on television, it can be damaging if the right person doesn't have that part, as we've all seen from the sort of Sia sort of music video that she done. So I think it's always important that there is an autistic person, not only potentially playing the part, but definitely has an input on how that part should be played. I also do something for charity every year. So the first year I done a skydive for Make the Wish Foundation. The second year I did a abseil for the National Autism Society. The third year I done the 15k run I done for pancreatic cancer. There's the zip line I done for the British Heart Foundation and Roy Castle. And this year I'm doing a charity event, 15k walk all the way from Virginia Water to Windsor Castle and back for the National Autistic Society and NHS, obviously for the great work that they've done during the pandemic. Also do YouTube, so I've been on YouTube since 2008, ranging from my own soap opera to bike stunts all the way to now making weekly videos, or trying to. As you may know, my schedule is very behind at the moment, but I will get back into the swing of it. Making videos, raising awareness for autism every week. And that's also where all the speeches go on my YouTube channel as well. So my experience with social media. I really wasn't allowed a lot of internet usage when I was younger. I remember the first time I actually got a phone, and I mean a phone, not like a smart device nowadays where you can basically do everything with. You know, it's not really a phone anymore to me. It's a mini entertainment console, just like the Xboxes and the PlayStations, as we spoke about in the online gaming talk that I did last month. They've all sort of become mini entertainment consoles where you can watch videos, where you can talk online with your friends. As when I had a phone, I think I had Snake on it, you know, which was just a little game, and that was like cutting edge. getting music on the phone when I had my phone was a sort of a big thing. I remember recording a music track from my phone, because my phone couldn't even download music on it. So when I was young, there was literally no social media for myself at all. I think because I'm autistic, my parents were very protective as well. I really remember, for instance, I wasn't really allowed down the local park or just going to the youth club, which is down the road in my village. My dad was very protective and didn't want me to go, because I think they worried about how unpredictable I was, and what sort of things could lead from it. So the last thing my mum and dad wanted, especially at that age, was me on social media. The first time I remember going onto social media, I was in year 7. And I just started my secondary school, and I think the main reason I had it at that point was because it was the cool thing to have. I remember people talking about Facebook all the time at that time. It's massively changed now to sort of Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitch, all the way to other services that they're using now. But I remember at the time Facebook was the cool thing to have. Bebo was really cool to have. MSN was really cool to have. So I badgered my mum and dad as well. I just had a big interest for editing. So my mum and dad for Christmas decided to get me a laptop, and I started going on social media. And I always remember one day I had a message from a stranger, did not know who he was at all, and he was basically trying to convince me that we met up in Spain on holiday. I was young, and obviously he was claiming that he was young at the time, sort of same age as me, and he was trying to claim that basically we played on a GameCube, and I had this green alien toy, which I didn't remember, and I even asked, "Are you sure you're talking about me? I think you got the wrong person." No, definitely you, mate, definitely you. And I sort of just asked my mum at the time. I said, "Mum, have I ever been on holiday and had this?" Because I thought, well, maybe it's just something I'm not remembering. And I said to my mum about it, and she said, no, that's never happened. So obviously, being a parent, she was very worried about that, and that's, I think, when she started really wanting, for her to sort of monitor my Facebook a lot more. So for years, I was under my mum's email for my Facebook. Anything that I signed up to, it was under my mum's email, because obviously she would then get the emails to say what was going on. And it was lucky that she did, because when I was at school, people then started bullying me as well. So I had a few kids. I went to a mainstream school with a ASD unit in there. Should have been ASC. The language around autism and conditions obviously need to change, because they're referring there to autism spectrum disorder unit, when really it should be autism spectrum condition. But going to the school and how the school was sort of laid out, they had an LSU unit, learning support unit, and a ASD unit. So all the kids knew I had autism and sort of could pick on me for that. And what started off bullying in the school ended up on social media, where I would post a photo of me. For instance, there's one photo where I'm pretending to sort of choke. I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm pretending to sort of choke slam myself, and basically by doing that, I've got my hand there, and it looks like someone else is obviously trying to choke slam me. And someone would comment, "Oh, wish you told me that. I would have done it for you," or and just a lot more things. And obviously, when I started YouTube, more and more sort of stuff happened. I remember putting a video up. I think it got like 8,000 dislikes. Which was really sort of 30,000 views with 8,000 dislikes was quite crushing. And then some of the comments, I've had people, comment on my voice, basically say, I'd rather watch sort of paint dry than watch your videos. It was worded a bit more badly by them, but the polite version. So over the years, on social media, I have had sort of good and bad experiences. I look back at some of my Facebook and I get to see some of the photos and some of like the experience I've had with my friends and some of the nice comments that I've had, and think, oh, I remember that, and it's sort of nostalgia kicking in. But over the years, you do look back on those sort of bad times as well. Even to the point where I had a friend who basically just wanted to give me hate on YouTube, but didn't want me to know who it was. So he just created a YouTube account that was registered to like Nigeria, just so he could comment on my videos. And at the time, being young, it really worried me and really sort of, was really worried about what someone was thinking about me all the way up, even if they were in Nigeria. Just, and again, not really understanding the world and thinking, well, is it really going to be someone from there, and is it someone that I know? And then when you find out it's someone that you start worrying, and more and more added stresses. I'd say through the years of social media, it probably caused me more stress than anything else. But obviously, there have been times when it can be used for good, when you need to get in contact with people, or when you're doing good things like charity fundraising, or putting the sort of word out about some of the awareness and videos that you're doing. It can be a really good tool to use. But I think at the age that I started, I was too young, and I know that there's kids now, starting even younger, and especially how the internet is evolving and social media is getting bigger and bigger. A lot of people don't understand how much data they're giving away, and how much security they're giving away, and putting themselves at risk. And especially being autistic, you might put something out there that you think is innocent and actually isn't. So overall, my experience with social media, I would say, has probably been more good as I've got older, and I've obviously now been able to manage it a lot better, because I'm of that age where I can. But when I was younger, I would definitely say it probably wasn't something I should have been on. And even though my mum added the monitoring tools that she did, like everything was signed to my email, there's still things that get missed. There's still technical areas that she's not going to be familiar with, where messages are going to go, or how else they could be contacting me. For instance, I had my phone number on Facebook, so what turned from social media was then getting text and getting threatened to being beat up by 7 people one day. Luckily, I was always open with my mum, always was able to have that conversation. But obviously, if you are autistic and you're scared and you're getting threats and they're sort of saying things like, well, if you turn 21, this is going to happen, then you might be not willing to be as honest and truthful to somebody. So I think it's always important as a parent that you can be open, and you always have that open communication with your child, and just knowing that you're not going to judge them or sort of do something that might make the situation worse, and that was always sort of the relationship I could have with my mum, is even if I did something bad, I could still tell her, and she couldn't guarantee me she'd sort it, but she'd at least listen and understand. And I think at that time it's sort of what I needed. So that's sort of my experience with social media. The biggest issues with social media. So cyberbullying. As I've just spoke about a little bit in my beginning, it's that did happen to me, and almost 43% of kids have been bullied online, and 1 in 4 has had it happen more than once. 70% of students report seeing frequent bullying online, and again, all of these statistics that are coming up now, if you don't have that open communication, and it's also happening to an autistic individual, because we know that people with autism are three times more likely to feel lonely, and we know that people with autism and conditions are more likely to commit suicide. So if they've got things going on like cyberbullying in the background, not only you've got the statistic of autistic people and people with conditions are more likely to commit suicide, but then you've also got the statistic there that says bullying victims are 2 to 9 times more likely to consider committing suicide. So obviously for an autistic individual, growing up in a world that they don't understand, in a world that they're trying to mould and fit into, and then being bullied for it, you can understand why there is a higher rate of committing suicide in the autism and conditions territory. We also know that more people with autism are likely to have other conditions alongside their autism, and then that later on displays into mental health. So if you've got then bullying going on in the background, 37% of people develop depression as a result of cyberbullying. So you can see the picture of where this is all sort of adding up. And, you know, we know that there's 800,000 people in the UK with autism. So, you know, you drum that down in terms of numbers, and then you've got 43% of kids that have been bullied online. You know, you can start to see that majority of those people will also be autistic as well. So it's frightening statistics, and obviously it's always important, as we say. The tips I would give for cyberbullying is, you know, make sure that you set up notifications to go to you. Don't necessarily have your kids on those sort of platforms at such a young age. I know it's sort of the go-to thing, and I know it can open more communication for you and your child. But even having something just a bit more, stripped back, you know, in terms of having the full thing straight away can really help. Because I know bullying will happen, but when bullying's happening not only in school, but then it's being took home online, you can understand why it gets worse and worse and worse. Where there was a horrible story actually where a kid was getting bullied online, and the kids as well. The sad thing is the kids as well that are doing the bullying don't understand the repercussions of their actions. And in this story, the child had gone missing, and they didn't know where he was. And it turns out that the child, unfortunately, did take his life, and he was found in his dad's shed at the bottom of the garden. And it was a story that made the news, and I think they also done a BBC Three programme on it quite a few years ago. And that was a result of cyberbullying. And obviously the kids after were devastated and absolutely couldn't believe that he'd done that. But obviously that was the repercussions of their actions. So I think the tips for parents is obviously making sure that their social media has only got people that they know, and if there is any form of bullying going on, that they get rid of those people on their friends list at that time. Obviously letting the schools know, letting the professionals know, and the people that are going through cyberbullying, make sure that you tell somebody, make sure that you tell a parent or a teacher. They are there to help, and they aren't going to judge you or make fun of you. And they're not going to make the situation worse. And if someone says, you know, if you tell so-and-so, then this is going to happen, you know, I would still advise let someone know, because you don't want to bottle that up. You don't want to hide that from people. People need to know what's going on, and it might feel like it's the end of the world at that point, but it really isn't. If you are getting bullied online, I would say ignore those people, remove them from your friends list, and if it gets really bad, I would also say entirely remove yourself from social media. And I would say it's sad it would come to that, but if your life's going to be better without that negativity going on, then it's obviously worth doing that. And those would be my tips, more specifically for parents. As I say, just monitor it, and make sure as well you understand the technology, but behind the app. There's a lot of things like Snapchat that people aren't aware of. Like, for instance, you send a message and you can set the message to delete. So you can't specifically monitor Snapchat because it sort of deletes the evidence. We'll get into that more a bit later, and obviously it will align with what I'm saying here. But that's sort of how technology is advancing. Is sometimes the things that you want to monitor you can't even see because they're just being wiped by the app. And there's just more statistics here. So 39% of people had a comment posted on their profile that's been nasty. Photos have been sent nasty private messages, and also here's a range of what social networks they may be using, and how much cyberbullying does go on to them, and the amount of people that are using it as well. And there you can see that Instagram, the cyberbullying of young people is very high, and that's going to be commenting on photos of people, so probably judging their appearance or saying what they look like. Facebook is obviously second there for young people. Snapchat, again, around the deleting the evidence and sort of getting rid of it, is third on that list, and the others are a bit lower. But Instagram, considering it's not been around as long as some of those other ones, and that's now second, and it's basically an app where you post photos. You can see the cyberbullying massively going up, and that's going to be judging, I think, people on what they look like and probably saying some negative things there. So online appearance, and this is a big one for me. I think I've spent a lot of my life looking at what other people are doing online, and a lot of people out there will look at these celebrities like Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, Joe Sugg, Alfie Days. I'm naming YouTubers here because it's sort of going that way. But throughout my life, I always sort of looked at, the Joe Suggs, the Alfie Days, and then celebrities that I saw on television, and always sort of wished that I could be like them, or why can't I look like that? And this is, I think, been another part of social media now, is the whole online presence and the online appearance that we have. People always seem to want to be showing their best life, but behind the screen they could be having a terrible time. They could be having depression, they could be struggling with anxiety, they could have autism, they could have ADHD, they could be having meltdowns every day, they could be having seizures, and it's a lot of this that we don't see, and it's a lot of what you see on the screen now that we do. So I'd say sometimes it's not all what it seems. And I think even we lose sight of that, because we will see these great photos and feel that lack of adventure, or we're missing something in our lives, and it necessarily might not be true. An example I can give is there's a YouTuber called Josh Peters, and he couldn't go to a festival one year, and he was absolutely gutted about it. But as a prank, what he did was he set up his own tent, and he put some lights in it, and he took photos, and he put out on Instagram and basically tried to make out he was at this event. And loads of people commented, going, "Where are you? Want to see you, want to meet you, oh, I hope you're having a good time," all this. And loads of people lapped it up and brought it up. Now, luckily there was a video obviously revealing that wasn't the case, but a lot of people may look at that status and go, "Oh, I wish I could be like him. Look at what he's doing. He's at this massive event. He's doing so well." I've seen other funny kind of videos, but just how realistic they look. Like someone put a toilet seat up and put their head against it, and it then looked like they were on an airplane. So it's sort of these deceptive things that we see online that aren't always true, that could be harmful to other people. There was also another example where there was a woman who was doing the protests in America for George Floyd, and she literally lifted a sign saying, Black Lives Matter, which was really important, and people were obviously protesting for it at the time because they were outraged about what happened. She took a photo, and then someone was filming her. She didn't know this, and then she just went, "Right, I'm going." and she just walked. She wasn't even part of the protest. She just wanted to be sort of seen online doing her bit. And it's these sort of things that we see and these sort of things that we believe that obviously we get deceived by, and we're not aware of that at the time. And I just think it's become massive online appearance. It's always about what you're doing and what you're saying and what people, and we seem to judge people as well based on something that they did 7 years ago or 3 years ago or 2 years ago, or even what they're doing now. And that's why I always feel it's important that you're careful about what you put online, because people think you just delete it and it's gone forever, and it's not. You know, I said earlier about Snapchat deleting, and what I mean by that is it gets rid of it on the device, but it's still in a cloud somewhere. It's still backed up by Snapchat, you know, and it's not gone, you know. So people need to obviously be careful what they put online. But people also need to be aware of what they see online all the time isn't the truth, and it may not be what it all seems. And also, we live in a society where we cross-comparison ourselves a lot. Like I was saying earlier, like I used to compare myself to celebrities. And again, we may not know all about their stories or where they come from or what their backgrounds are and how they've got to where they are. And we often compare. You know, I often compare myself to Tom Holland. You know, he's a brilliant actor. He's around the same age as me, and he's Spider-Man. I'm sort of thinking, well, I'm an actor. You know, around the same age. Why aren't I not where he is? And we do it all the time. Even later on in life, in our professional careers, we think to ourselves, well, you know, why am I not there? And I'd say it's not helpful. You know, people get to certain stages at certain times. Morgan Freeman didn't make his big acting break till his 50s. You know, there's plenty of people that have got their dream job or broke the industry at a later age, and it's not a race. You know, just take your time and enjoy life for what it is, instead of worrying about what you look like and what other people are thinking of you. And I think that's sort of what I've learned over the years is, you know, people always sort of say to me, you know, you're quite confident or you don't get nervous. And I always just think to myself, well, I've made myself look like an idiot 10 times, you know, 20 times, 40 times, more times I can count on my hand. One more time ain't going to work. And that's how I sort of approach things. But also there are times of depression, there are times of meltdowns, there are times of stress. So again, even for me, when you see me post things online, might not all be what it seems. You know, there's still stuff that happens in the background. And I think us as people, as a society, need to sort of be fully aware that things that we see aren't always true. And I've given some more examples on here as well. So online appearances. And so the first one is from the Try Guys on YouTube. They do a lot of experiments, and this experiment was they were taking the infamous Justin Bieber photo, but they wanted it done like themselves, and that's the true version of him on the left, and that is the power of Photoshop on the right. The other one is from a Photoshop tutorial video about how to make yourself look younger. The real one's on the left and the Photoshop one on the right. And obviously a thing that's been happening throughout, I think, for years and years and years is this sort of generalisation of what a woman looks like. You know, to the point now where there's conditions like anorexia, you know, happening because people will see magazine covers and think that's what I should look like, and why don't I look like that? And virtually people will starve themselves. You know, even I went through a obsession of my weight at one point. When I was in year 7, I was obsessed and didn't want to be quote unquote fat or overweight. And I had the mind of an anorexic person, which literally is what my doctor said. When I was in year 9, I weighed 7 stone. And it all stemmed from an OCD obsession that I had. A kid called me chubby, and that was it. I was obsessed with what I looked like, and I wouldn't eat, and I was throwing my lunches over a fence that my mum was paying for, the school lunches, and I was just throwing them over the fence because I didn't want to eat them. And that went on for about 4 years. And I would get on the scales every day, and in the end, my mum threw the scales away. And then I had the Wii Fit system, and she threw the board of the Wii Fit system away. But I was obsessed categorically with my weight, to the point where I was only having a tuna sandwich at night and a packet of like soft mint sweets, and that was it. Eventually, with OCD, a new obsession arises, unfortunately. Sort of the way OCD works is, once you're over one, it seems to one other one comes back in. So yeah, not too bothered about my weight now. I'd say I'm more bothered about health reasons more than what I look like. But obviously there's loads of people that would see that magazine cover at the bottom and think, well, I should look like that, and they're not realising that the real person in that photo is the one on the left and not on the right. And this is what the media and Facebook and social media does, is they want to give you this sort of glamorizing look to their pictures and to their models and everything else. So I just thought they were really good sort of examples to show. So the reason I put this one is the comparing of celebrities. So again, like I said earlier, I often compare myself to celebrities and think, why am I not like that? And we sort of, again, what I was saying earlier about the backgrounds of those people. So interestingly enough, the first row of this slide, all of the people at the top had famous parents. So people that might think, why don't I look like Miley Cyrus, or why don't I look like Drew Barrymore, or why am I not as successful as all of these people? The backgrounds of these people are, they had famous celebrity fathers or parents or mothers, and they had their foot in the industry as soon as they were born. So that is, unfortunately, the industry is, sometimes it's who you know and how you know, and I think when we compare ourselves to celebrities and famous people, we forget that. We forget that they might have a link to the industry, or might have that influential power to get in. And the people at the bottom row, funnily enough, were all from rich parents. And you're probably thinking Ed Sheeran, which I was, but his father was a very successful lecturer, and his mum was a very successful jewellery maker. So we're sort of sold on these stories of how he done a YouTube video and how he done this and how he done that, and all of the other stories, which to some degree will be true, but they won't tell you about this massive background. It's a bit like the whole sort of Donald Trump sort of story. No, he made it on his own. He's a self-made billionaire. Well, no, he was given a small loan of $1 million from his father. So, in comparison, we've got to understand we are from different backgrounds and we are in different situations that these people aren't going to be in, and I think that's often forgotten and not sort of thought about when we're making these comparisons. So on to the next slide, which is safety and online predators. So obviously working in IT, I'm very aware of the sort of safety area, and obviously being involved in education and autism, it's very important for me to be involved in the online sort of safety and making sure that we are doing things that make it harder for predators to be able to access our data. So a bit about that before I get into the statistics. I was talking about Snapchat earlier. So obviously I spoke about the situation when I was confronted by this stranger online on Facebook, which may or may not have been a predator, or it could have just been someone who made an honest mistake. I will never know, because I blocked that person, and that was because my mum told me to do so. However, the way that social media has again evolved, as a lot of people will put all their social media in one spot. So they will have links to other social media, and if they've not got the security or the safety set on their profiles, it could be potentially viewed by many other people. And what I mean by that is, if you have your Facebook profile, and then in your About Me bit, you have your Snapchat and you have your Instagram, it's very easy for somebody on Facebook to view your profile, look at your About Me, then contact you on that other social media and potentially pretend to be someone that they're not, because then they may have access to your friends list and they could be pretending to be said person. Or they might just be pretending to be someone in the area that's going to be joining the same school as you soon, as there's some stories around that. And this is how it can start evolving, because you could monitor their Facebook, not see that activity. You could monitor their Instagram, and not see that activity. I would say the benefit of those social media sites is obviously all the information is retained unless it's deleted within the system. So if you get an Instagram message, it's not just going to disappear suddenly, again, unless it's deleted. Facebook, the information, the messages are all kept unless, again, it's deleted. But the thing about those systems are, as you can see, if a message has been deleted, if they delete the whole chat, it gets a little bit more complicated, but I believe it still goes into like a deleted folder, or archive folder. So you can still have some visibility of it. As well, if you set up notifications on your email, you can get a notification every time a message is sent, and vice versa. Or when someone adds your child or someone else as a friend. So you can see this sort of behaviour happening. The danger of Snapchat is the way that Snapchat works, and don't ask me why they designed it like this, but they do it so you send a photo or you send a message, and you can select a time for that to delete, and that could be 5 seconds. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that goes on Snapchat, people will send explicit photos of themselves. People can send the hate and the abusive messages, and it will be deleted. And again, it's getting back to that stage. It will obviously be backed up in a cloud, but just say if a predator is to come into contact with your child, pretends to be someone else, or starts talking to them and gaining the child's trust, you can't see any of it, because the visibility of it, once that message is sent, is gone. And that's what really scares me for Snapchat. And Snapchat, you only have to be 13 years old to use. And for me, that's beyond comprehension. I can't believe that is even allowed. And that's what concerns me the most. If a parent said to me, would I let my child use Snapchat? I'd categorically say no, I wouldn't. Not that I have a child, but if I did, no, I wouldn't. I would not let them use it, just because that visibility and that security is not there. And that's what frightens me more about Snapchat. So some of the statistics on that: 70% of kids encounter sexual or violent content online, and that's just while doing homework research. So just while they're doing their homework, they're getting these messages and this content that are coming through. 17% of age 8 to 12-year-olds received an online message with photos or words that made them feel uncomfortable, and only 7% of parents were aware of this. So about sort of what we were chatting about earlier, was opening that communication, making sure it's okay, for making them know that it's okay to ask these questions and not be embarrassed or not be ashamed, and have these open dialogues. I think it's just really important. So 65% of 8 to 14-year-olds have been involved in cyberbullying incident. 36% of girls and 31% of boys have been bullied online. 75% of children would share personal information online in exchange for goods and services. And I find that really worrying, because if someone says to them, okay, if you give me this, or you send me this, or do this, I will do this, or give you this. And I just find that really worrying, especially if it's an online predator asking this. You can imagine, for instance, maybe a 12-year-old child speaking to somebody online and them saying, okay, if you send me this, I will send you or buy you an Xbox or a phone or anything like that, or a new pair of trainers. It's very scary, and again, the repercussions of those actions aren't necessarily thought about when they do this. And especially this happening to a child with autism or conditions, they may not see anything wrong with that, may not understand the situation. And what's more scary is this autistic person might just find that this person actually does care about them, or wants to have a sort of friend or relationship. And obviously, with autistic people and people with conditions, they may not understand the full situation entirely, and that can be really scary and dangerous too. So yeah, and obviously 500,000 online predators are active each day. So quite a big number, not a nice number to look at, but obviously this is why I think it's so important. And the tips I would give to people is obviously monitor your children's social media to make sure that this isn't happening. Things like Snapchat, I wouldn't have them using it at such a young age. And if you're going to let them use social media at all, just make sure you monitor it. Make sure that the privacy settings on those accounts are locked down, that they can only add friends, that you can see what's going on. And the big thing as well is us as adults and us as parents and teachers need to, take responsibility as well. And what I mean by that is, when a lot of the kids go back to school, a lot of the parents will take a photo of their kid in their school uniform, and if that person doesn't have the right privacy settings on their Facebook account, so let's just forget about the child's Facebook account at this stage, just say the parent doesn't have the right privacy settings on their account, and someone stumbles across their profile, sees what school that their child goes to, there's nothing to say that something bad can't happen in that situation. And the things like these apps as well, and these social media, is a lot of the time they will trace where you are. They have GPS or location settings on your device. And Snapchat and WhatsApp even offer a function where you can literally send your specific address to somebody. So again, the tips I would give is knowing the technology, monitoring it, having that open dialogue. Certain apps saying no to, just putting your foot down and going, no, I'm not having it. I'm not going to have that. And I wouldn't say restricting the use of technology, because I think technology can be a good thing, but just realising the danger of it, and just making sure, again, that we monitor it and just have that open dialogue. And I'd say always sort of be suspicious, because in that way you can always know what's going on. Even with things like, as I said, the Xboxes have become, social media, consoles. You can get Facebook on Xbox now, you can get Twitter, you can get Instagram, you can get all these things. So it's keeping up to date, making sure that we've got the right settings, the right privacy, and always having that open dialogue as well, and just making sure that they're the right age and got the right maturity to handle the social media at the given time where you decide that it's time for them to have it. But it's not all bad, and I know I've carried on this presentation for most of it, and it's all been quite negative. But social media can be a good thing. But unfortunately, what it comes down to is when it's in the hands of somebody that is bad, it can become dangerous and it can become scary and frightening. But it isn't all bad. You know, I've had many pleasant experiences online. I've been able to share a great deal of what I've been able to do, what I've been doing, and been able to raise, for instance, money for charity because of social media. I've been able to find out things because of social media. I've been able to make friends because of social media. So it's not all bad. It's just about monitoring it and making sure that your life isn't just all about social media, and being suspicious and knowing all the things that we spoke about today, like the privacy, like the security, like the online deception that goes on, not believing everything that we read. It's really important, and I think with fact checkers coming out is making it a whole lot easier to identify what is real and fake. But obviously there's greater technology coming out as well, like deep fakes, which is just basically getting an image or getting a video and being able to make it look like somebody else, or making it look like a celebrity is in that video. As technology is advancing, more things like fact checkers are having to come out to sort of disprove what's going on. So it's scary and it's forever evolving, but it's not all bad. You know, there are times where, especially through the pandemic, you know, it's been a tool that we've been able to still chat to our family members and our friends and our colleagues over, and it can be such a great tool to use. Online teaching, even though it's not been done over social media, it's been done over things like Zoom or Google Meets. You know, it can be a great tool, but it's just got to be used in the right way, and it's got to be monitored, and it's got to be done at the right time, I think, so our young people have the best experience on it, and also they have the tools and the knowledge of it when they grow up to use it properly. So I think at this time I would actually say, if you've got any questions, please let me know. And ironically, I'm going to end by saying follow me on social media, which is the biggest contradiction on earth, but I would say, yeah, if you've got any sort of questions about today's talk, or you just want to query something, or you would be interested in just having a conversation with me, yeah, that's sort of why I put my social media out there. If it was 10 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have, but that's sort of why I do it now, is just to raise the awareness and the understanding for autism, and just making sure that we get the message out there, so you know, our young people don't have to go through the things that so many people do. So yeah, any questions, please let me know.